So, who poisoned the waters of Yamuna in Delhi? No, that is not going to be the agenda of discussion for today. Rather, we are going to discuss Delhi's political legacy. In the news, you have these three faces, Mr. Modi, Rahul Gandhi, and Arvind Kejriwal. But Delhi's political legacy has been colorful. There have been 37 years without which Delhi existed without a legislative assembly. So it is currently one of the few union territories with a legislative assembly, other being the Puducherry and Jammu, the UAT of Jammu and Kashmir. So let's get to it. Firstly, a bit about the history of how Delhi's formation, how Delhi started to evolve. So in 1911, the British who were ruling India at that time, they transferred their capital to Delhi, and finally by 1919, the extraction or carving of Delhi from the erstwhile Punjab province was complete. Okay, and that at that time, the structure of government was that Delhi had a chief commissioner who was responsible for reporting to the viceroy. After independence, what happened was the structure changed. Just apart from besides instead of the viceroy, the chief commissioner was to respond or to report to the president of India. And in 1950, when the constitution finally came into force, so India, all the territories were divided into these three important categories: Part A, Part B, and Part C states, out of which we have to focus on Part C states, of which Delhi became a part, along with six other territories which were Part C states with the legislative assembly. Some of these territories were Vindhya Pradesh, Urg, now Kodagu, then Madhya Pradesh, Bilaspur, Himachal Pradesh. Okay, so these were some of the territories with the legislative assembly. So basically, they had this structure that the chief commissioner was to report to the president, and other, for example, just for information purposes, Part A states consisted of the other British provinces. Part B state consisted, in layman terms, of the princely states which were governed by the Raj Pramukh. Okay, so in British provinces we have the governors. Fine. So this was the structure. Okay. And under this structure, the first CM of the Delhi was Mr. Brahma Prakash. He was a Yadav farmer. So the government was formed. He took oath in 1952. But what happened was, like many others, in today's Delhi also, state versus center, there was a representative, although we had a chief minister, Mr. Brahma Prakash, but there was also the chief commissioner who allegedly interfered with the state in this, in Delhi, in the affairs of Delhi, much like we hear about um with Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, the current chief minister. You might have known about the incidences or infighting between the administrator or the lieutenant governor, who is the administrator on behalf of the president. So Mr. Najib Jung was there, Mr. Anil Baijal was there, and currently Mr. Saxena. So there has been issues like who controls the status or structure of the Indian administrative services. Obviously, there has been a vehement demand for the emphatic demand for giving statehood to the UT of Delhi. Then obviously the land does not come under Delhi and the state government. It comes under the Ministry of Housing Affairs and Urban Development. Similarly, police comes under the Union Home Ministry. So again, this was the major issue. So Mr. Brahma Prakash decided to step down. And by 1956, towards the end of the term, he was replaced by Mr. Nihal Singh. Obviously, by 1956, the elections were due. So that government also didn't exist till long. Now, an important development that took place in 1956 was the formation of the States Reorganization Commission, which was headed by Mr. Fazal Ali. So, what the states we observe today, the extant state, the present day states, they have been organized on linguistic basis, we all know. So, that this major structure came about in 1956. So, Mr. Fazal Ali, or broadly the State Reorganization Commission, it said that the status or the importance of Delhi as the capital, as the seat of the government, of the union government, has to be preserved. So, as such, there is no requirement for a legislative assembly. So, from 1957 onwards till 1993, Delhi did not have any legislative assembly. So this is one, for example, during the reorganization, Himachal Pradesh was also a UT, Andaman Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep, Manipur and Tripura. So all these UTs were also created. So this is how it evolved. But what happened in the so the governance which was there earlier when Mr. Brahma Prakash was the chief minister, that was very negligible. But obviously, the political leaders in Delhi, all over India, they were fighting for some sort of governance. So in 1957, just to placate the demands, the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act was enacted, was passed, and it gave some kind of legitimacy, some kind of local government to the people of Delhi. Just remember, currently the structure of Delhi, the civic amenities like roads, water, and whatnot, that is under the municipalities. And currently there are three major municipalities. One is the NDMC, New Delhi Municipal Corporation, which overlooks mainly what is known as the New Delhi area, or in specific terms, euphemistic terms, Lutyens Delhi. Then there is the Delhi Cantonment Board, which overlooks the civic matters of the cantonment area, and the rest is under the Municipal Corporation of Delhi. Earlier, it was trifurcated under the chief ministership of Ms. Sheila Dikshit. And before 2022, the BJP decided to again unify it. So there is again one MCD, and it is largely under the control of Mr. Kejriwal, that is the AAP government. Okay, so this NDMC was existing earlier in some form or the other from 1913, because of course that New Delhi Lutyens area has been important since time immemorial. But this Delhi Municipal Act and subsequently the formation of the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, it's sort of in simplified terms, it provided for local governments. But still, the leaders, the various political leaders, were not satisfied with whatever local government. They wanted that the devolution of power should increase, and subsequently, a a metropolitan council was formed in 1966. Okay, so this consisted of several elected as well as nominated members. So initially, when this was formed, then in from 1967 onwards, elections were held in 1967, 1972, 1977, and so on, 1983, and so on. And there, multiple parties came into power. So first, initially, the BJP, or rather the Janasangh. During the tenure of Brahma Prakash, we had the Janasangh, which was the predecessor of the BJP. So here, the BJP, then the Janata Party was also active at that time, and of course the Congress. So the leadership of this Metropolitan Council, it varied or vacillated There was sometimes BJP was came into power, sometimes the Janata Party, sometimes the Congress, and so on. So this was the structure. Now, what happened in 1991? Still, the leaders were still fighting for more control or more devolution of power. So, in 1991, this was made possible under the PV Narasimha Rao government. So, in when it came in 1991, and finally in 1993, the UT of Delhi was again granted the Legislative Assembly. So in Legislative Assembly in 1993, the first Chief Minister of that is third, Mr. Madan Lal Khurana, he became the third CM after obviously Brahma Prakash and Nihal Singh. So 1993 elections done, BJP got a majority. But from 1993 to 1998, he was involved or his government was riddled by Hawala scandal. So he had to step down. Then after that, within this same period, 1993 to 1998, a Jat leader, Mr. Sahib Singh Verma, became the fourth PM of Delhi. And finally, towards the end of the term of BJP government from 1993 to 1998, Ms. Sushma Swaraj, who became the External Affairs Minister in the first Modi government in 2014. She is now no more. So Sushma Swaraj, she was at that time an MP from South Delhi. So she was designated as the Chief Minister. One of the main reasons that BJP came into power was obviously major reason has been attributed to the 1984 anti-Sikh riots which rocked the national capital. But in even after the appointment of Sushma Swaraj, she was a she was a prominent leader, prominent activist, a prominent politician in that time. But she was not able to save the sinking BJP ship. And finally, after that, we got as Chief Minister Ms. Sheila Dikshit, who became the longest serving CM in Delhi's in independent India. So she served as Chief Minister continuously for 15 years from 1998 to 2013. And Sheila Dikshit was responsible and is always often credited with multiple infrastructure and multiple development projects in Delhi. For example, Delhi Metro, tens of flyovers, bridges in Delhi, the privatization of power distribution companies, and also, like I mentioned earlier, the trifurcation of the municipal corporation. Okay. So Sheila Dikshit again. But now, then again, during her tenure for three consecutive terms, she came into power. But again, Congress from UPA 1 at the national level, we had the UPA 1 and UPA 2 also. UPA 1 was still decent, it handled its affairs pretty smoothly. But UPA 2 government was riddled by a number of scandals and illegitimate affairs. So you can see how this overlap is taking place. So after the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government came to an end in 2004, then from 2004 to 2014, we had the Congress government. The largest party in UPA was Congress. So because majorly these corruption factors led to the downfall of the Congress at the Union Territory of Delhi level as well. And during that time, what happened was there was so much corruption going on, so many allegations, so many cases were being filed. So there was this India Against Corruption movement was also there. And this India Against Corruption movement, a major leader arose, who was Mr. Kejriwal, Arvind Kejriwal. Along with him, the prominent leaders were Mr. Manish Sisodia, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, Mr. Yogendra Yadav. The last two were expelled from the party later. We'll not go into that. And also, the first female IPS officer, Kiran Bedi, was also a major part of that movement. So initially in 2013, there were young leaders in Delhi, and the senior leaders wanted to project those leaders, like, for example, Mr. Harshvardhan and Mr. V.K. Malhotra. Senior leaders wanted to project these leaders as the CM candidate, but BJP decided to stick with the old horses, such as V.K. Malhotra. But that didn't come into picture. So that was one of the major reasons. In 2013, the CM candidate, Mr. Harshvardhan, was projected as a CM candidate, and under his leadership, the BJP secured 31 seats, and AAP it secured 29 seats. So obviously, 70 are the total number of seats. In order to form the government, majority 35, 36 seats are required. So Mr. Kejriwal went back on his earlier promise to not join hands with the Congress. He joined hands with the Congress and formed the government at that time. But that government was short lived. It only lasted for 49 days. And it was because what Kejriwal made an excuse, or whatever you may call it, it was due to the lack of the anti-corruption support from the various parties. Okay, so for 1 year from that onwards, Delhi came under the president's rule, and finally, again 2015 elections when they took place, so Kejriwal came back with a massive majority, massive Delhi support, 67 67 seats. Out of those, out of 70, 67 seats went to the Aam Aadmi Party. 3 seats went to the BJP, and the Congress failed to open its account. So at that point, also at that point, IPS, the ex-IPS officer Kiran Bedi was also projected as a CM candidate, but this measure, or this venture, proved disastrous for BJP. And finally, again in 2020 also, AAP rode on its popularity, whatever freebies you may call it. So it rode and it secured 62 seats, so easily forming the government. So now we are in 2025. So let's see what happens. Now we come to us. Normally, I'm not one to rant on social media. I've avoided that because it doesn't lead to good circumstances. So what I want to focus on is what many consider as a waste of vote. According to me, it does not count as a waste of vote. The election commission has it rolled out NOTA a few years back, so that no one can give an excuse that I don't like I don't like this particular party, or I don't like any candidate, so I will not vote. Exercising of vote is one of our duties, and we should do it. We should definitely vote. Now, many people say, obviously, NOTA, i- if, for example, we have 100 people are voting and 99 votes go to NOTA and one vote goes to any of the candidate A, B, or C, you can very well understand which are the parties I am referring to. So obviously that candidate is the first past the post system. But voting for Nota, as has been observed, even in the MCD elections, the percentage of Nota votes has increased. It's about sending a message. It's about keeping our conscience clear. If even if we consider that Nota is a waste of vote, if we are voting for Nota, it will count as 0 votes. What do you think if we are voting for a corrupt or incompetent candidate, will it really matter? In fact, I would consider that as a negative vote. You're not acting as a nationalist or a patriot, because India's polity as such, conducting elections, even state MCD, is a huge task, is an arduous task. We don't have that kind of resources to time and again repeat if Nota gets the maximum number of votes. But it is kind of sending a message. If the politicians are not working for us, they are treating us for taking us for granted. So why not send them a message? If we say somehow we send a good proportion of the Nota votes, then some kind of humiliation the politicians or the candidates will. And there is also a provision that at the state level, the security deposit, 10,000 deposit, rupees 10,000 deposit has to be done by the contesting MLA, so that only serious candidates. And out of that, what the provision is, if the candidate fails to secure 1/6 of the total votes, then he has to forego or forfeit his, obviously rupees 10,000 is a very meager amount. It amounts to peanuts in comparison to the what the donations occur, but still the message, sending the message is important. Now, why I am again, I'm not trying to influence your opinion. You are adult, 18 above, you are big kids, you can easily decide. But when we talk about the blame games, right? Right now, I started with the poisoning of Yamuna waters. Now, Yamuna also flows through Uttarakhand. Its basin also lies in Himachal Pradesh. Its basin also lies in Haryana. So, right now, the chief minister is now, we can say that he's just shirking his responsibility. He's transferring the onus. So, and most importantly, we don't have a clean air to breathe. Air pollution has become, all the central government is doing, it has announced this GRAP measures, graded response action plan. Whole winters I have been observing in the news that if the pollution is increasing, it invokes GRAP 4. If the pollution is decreasing, it invokes GRAP 3. So these piecemeal measures are not going to work. At the national, we have National Clean Air Program. But what is this doing? Only monitoring the pollutants. So, and more important, like I talked in the lecture about the municipalities. So again, the civic amenities, the roads, the condition of roads are pathetic. Being a union territory, it's the seat of the government, but it does not mean that you will look only after the concerns of those VIPs who are staying at Lutyens Delhi. If you come to East Delhi, or if you go to West Delhi, the condition is pathetic. And even I say pathetic is an understatement. So this, we don't have clean water. So even if the B party comes into power, a lot of people are hoping that they will ride to power on anti-incumbency of A party. But again, the civic authorities like the municipality, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, the AAP is running that. So if the roads are not good, if the water quality is not good, again blame because AAP. But again, consider in Lok Sabha elections, Delhi has sent all 7 MPs from the party B. Okay, in MLAs, when we consider MLAs also, only 62 seats majority are with AAP, and rest with they are with the BJP also, the B party also. So there also, don't they owe any responsibilities? They are also responsibility. Rather, they are at a higher level as compared to the municipalities. They also, is there any guarantee that if the regime changes at the state level, then the disaster which occurred in Rajendra Nagar, where the UPSC students, they lost their lives, uh, the drainage systems are dilapidated, they are out of order, there has been no improvement. All these blame games are going on. The people in power, the politicians, have to realize that we are not cockroaches. We might amount to insignificance, but at best, we are hardworking ants, and we have the potential to make or break the government. So don't think that this, if you're exercising your vote, if you at least go through the antecedents, the criminal past. I don't care whether you have been selling tea or you are 8 pass, 9 pass, if you have been a previous ex IAS officer, IPS officer, if you have been given the opportunity to govern a state, whether or govern a municipality, govern the country as an MP, it is your responsibility to make at least the basic amenities, the basic desires, fulfill the basic aspirations of the people, to give them a good quality of life. Don't just issue the sops and freebies. Obviously, the disadvantaged people, they need to be cared for. But now what we're experiencing is a Delhi divided. And we as citizens, we as major participants, major stakeholders of democracy, we have to ensure that the Constitution always remains, it is preserved, and it remains in safe hands. Till we meet again next time, Jai Hind.